All right, hi everyone, I'm Tracy and welcome to today's video. So this is kind of an impromptu video because I've been getting so many questions on whether I have the new Rephr brushes, and so I figured there's a lot of interest in these brushes and I wanted to make sure I put a video up and let you guys know what I thought. Now I just got them yesterday, so I'm using them today for the first time. And I did most of the makeup right here. I'm not done. I'm going to use a couple of these live to do like my cream bronzer and blush and highlighter. And I will insert B-roll as I go through the individual brushes. So it's a set of 5 brushes. So and I have, kind of what I have right here, what the brushes are explained to be for, but I often will use brushes in ways that they're not designed for. I'll give you guys a brief look at all 5. One little liner brush here, a smaller, they call it like a mini cheek brush, a pointed eye brush, and this is like kind of like a paw brush. It's the number 36, and then the biggest one is this one. So they're all, for face brushes, they're all pretty small, but if you use them for eye brushes, they're really big. And to me, for my makeup needs, these 4 brushes right here, these are face brushes. I did try to use one for eyes, but I'll go through that when I get there. So the one that I feel like is the most impressive and a type of brush that I'm very drawn to is right here, the 37. This is the largest one. And, it has that very basic, it's not too long. It's got that domed shape. It's not tapered at all. And these are all synthetic and goat mixes. That's my understanding, because most of Rephr brushes that have goat hair, that's the mix that they use. And this one, let me just read what it says here. Brush 37, a petite cheek brush that's designed for application and blending of blush, bronzer, and even foundation. This brush is amongst the softest in our collection and will make your makeup experience a luxurious one. And I used it for foundation, and you can see here how it worked for foundation, because when I got these brushes, I just felt like these were meant for cream and liquid products. I personally don't see myself using any of these for powders. They are designed to do both, but I just know I like very light and fluffy brushes to apply powder products. So these are all pretty dense. So that's why I see them for creams. And I used this one for foundation, the 37, and it did a fine job. If you're looking to add another foundation brush to your collection so you can rotate through a few, I think this one will be a very good one. But I'm just guessing this would be best for cream, blush, and bronzer. So I'm going to use it right now for cream bronzer. So, and when I used it for foundation, it was a medium coverage. It did absorb some foundation, not a terrible amount, and it did fine. It was, you can use it to buff and you can use it to press in your foundation, either way. But I do think this is going to make a really good cream bronzer brush. So I'm going to go in with this Patrick Ta cream bronzer contour duo, and I'm probably going to end up using this for cream blush, but just because I don't have my bronzer on, I'm going to show you guys how it works with this product. And I have a feeling it'll be a great brush for cream, especially cream contour. For me, I like a brush about this size. I don't like really big bronzer brushes, even for cream products. So yeah, it did that really well. And I can definitely see where I put that bronzer, where I put that bronzer and where I didn't. So yeah, as I expected, this will do your cream contour and bronzer really well. See? Yeah, and I suppose if you do like a dense brush, you can use this for powder. I I don't like dense brushes for powder, blush, and bronzer and things like that. If I had to compare this to another brush in my collection, I would say it's most similar to the Hakuhodo J210. Very, very similar, maybe a little bit smaller. Okay. So yeah, it did that very well. I don't know if I would say this will be my go-to cream bronzer brush, but I could see myself putting this in the rotation. So my conclusion with this brush is that it would be best for cream, contour, bronzer, and blush. So yeah, that's the 37. Now we're going to talk about the 36. This is not a type of brush that many brands will make because of that shape. You know, it's got that slanted end on this side. So when I see a brush like this makes me think of a concealer brush. And that's what I used it for today, to put concealer on the upper eyelid and the bottom eyelid. And it works fine for that. I personally have been really into these type of concealer brushes, the Weasel Hair very like thin specific ones, because these are just so detailed, and you know, they use a very little amount of product, but these brushes are on the pricier side. So I would say if you're someone that likes to conceal this eye area, then this will be a good one, because it's a very quick way to apply concealer. It did it very evenly. And did I use, I don't think I use it anywhere else, but I know Fenty makes one, and they call, I think it's called the cat's paw brush. It's a little different. I think it's a bit narrower, but I would say of all the different brushes in this new set, this is the most unique. I don't have a brush like this, and I've never actually used a brush like this that I could remember. So I'm really glad to have one like this. I would say if I were in a rush and doing my concealer, you know, and I only have maybe 5 or 10 minutes to get ready, this is one that I would use. It would even work well for little areas like this. I think I did use it there. And so I would say of all the different brushes in this line, this one is the most unique. And if you are someone that has a fairly decent collection, I would say this one is probably the one that you don't have. That's the 36. And then the other one that I've used is a 33. 33, a fusion between our flagship brush 1 and 2. This one and done brush will undoubtedly become a workhorse in your brush collection. So this one, they say, is a mix between the 1 and the 2. The 1 is the smaller pinch ferrule blending eye brush, and the 2 is their kind of shorter packing brush, which I use for liner. So yeah, this is not a shape or type of brush that I see very often. The only one that I have that I feel kind of reminds me of this is the Chikuhodo Artist 12-2. Now I use this for concealer, and it's always dirty, and it's dirty right now, so that's why it looks like this. But if I had to compare it to something, it would be like this Chikuhodo, but the Chikuhodo is made of weasel and squirrel hair. So this brush is much more luxurious, it's softer, it's more flexible. But I would say if you were to use this for something, you can use this for that purpose as well. Now I didn't use it for concealer because I already had my concealer done with this brush, so I can't speak for how it did with concealer. What I use this for, because of the shape, I used it to powder my eyes after concealer, which I do most days, and it did a fine job of that because this is not a super dense brush. So when if you have fine lines and stuff, you don't want to heavily powder this area because the skin around your eyes tends to be less firm. You don't want to exacerbate any kind of lines or uneven skin texture. So but this one, I feel like it applied like a medium amount. It wasn't like a super light application, but it did a good job of locking in my concealer. But for my powdering needs, I just prefer a very light, fluffy squirrel hair brush, and that's generally what I use, or the Hakuhodo mixed hair brushes. But if you are looking for something small to powder very small areas, you can definitely use this brush. But I think going forward, I would use this for concealer, because to me, this is a little bit too much brush for concealer. I like to be more specific, so probably the next time I use this, it would be for concealer, especially to get under the lower lash line because of that point. It also can like conceal little areas like that, which I do quite often, or conceal laugh lines, or conceal little areas is probably what I'm going to end up using this for. I did use this also to start out my eye look, so I put like the light shadow on both sides, and I put like a medium shade here. I didn't do the entire eye look with this, I just couldn't, but it did that job fine as well. I might use it for that too, but I would say this is a more unique shape that I don't have a lot of. Probably just that one Chikuhodo is the only one that reminds me of this, and I don't have a pointed eye brush. This kind of reminds me of those Smith brushes that I don't have, but they have a lot of those pointed ones. I also tried it to line, and it did that fine. It wasn't like a heavy application, it was more of a light application. I don't see myself using this for liner, but I think for me, like specific powdering or concealing is what I would use this for. Okay, just really quick, I'll go over the 34. I used it to line my eyes today, and it did a fine job. Is it my favorite liner brush? No. But if you are looking for a very, very fine brush, if you really like a subtle liner, you will like this one. I prefer my liner to be a little bit more dramatic, just a little bit. I like applying a little bit more. So this might also be good if you use gel liner. I don't use gel liners, I just use shadow to line, so I can't speak for that. But I would say it's a fine brush. You know, it's not going to change the way I do my makeup, but you know, it works. And that's the 34. And then the last brush, and this is one that I have not used. I'm going to use it right now for blush and cream highlight. That's the number 35. So they say, this is the description, a strikingly small face brush that's designed for ultra precision blending and application of blush, contour, and highlight. So I think this is too small for contour, and it's a little small for blush, but we're going to try it anyways. And then I'm going to try to use it for highlighter. Actually, you know what? Because I'm going to use that for both, I'm probably going to have to use it with highlighter first, because it's going to, the shades are going to mix up. Okay, so I'm going to use this Merit highlighting stick in Kava. And I'm not a big cream highlight person. I prefer to use powders. But let's just see how this performs before I put the blush on. Yeah, and it does a fine job of this task. I wouldn't get this for this purpose. I would say it's putting on that highlighter pretty heavily. So if you like to use cream highlighter and you want a pretty strong application, I think this will give that to you. And I'm going to try it down the middle of my face. When I do this, I worry that I'm lifting my foundation. I don't know if it did. I don't think it did. Okay, so I can see it here. Yeah, and it did that. For this area, I wouldn't use a brush this big. This is better for like this area. Yeah, and I think it did that task just fine. I'm going to use a Merit cream blush in Cheeky. Also, it picks up a lot, so be careful if you're going to use this. Like, that's a lot. Okay. So I don't like this brush for cream blush. It's just too specific. It doesn't cover enough, and the brush doesn't spread out enough. I mean, still till this day, my favorite cream blush brush is the Rephr 4, and I've been talking about this so much. This is the type of brush I like for cream blush. And yeah, I don't like how heavily that put that on. It doesn't look heavy on camera, but I feel like, yeah, it just put it on in a too small of an area. This brush is just more foolproof. Okay, sorry, I had to use a brush I already have, but I personally don't see myself using this brush, and I've said this about this shape. They also make a brush, the number 12, which is like kind of this shape but smaller for the eyes. And I just never found a use for it. I know a lot of people like that type of brush, like an eye brush, and Hakuhodo makes one, I believe it's called the J212, and they consider it an eyeshadow brush. So maybe if you're looking to apply cream shadow and you like just like a one and done shade, you know, this would probably work well. That's just not my style of makeup. So yeah, I just don't see myself using this type of brush. It's not this particular brush. It's just that I tend not to use this shape. So that is the 35, and I think that's going to do it. If I had to recommend like my favorites, to me the most useful type of brush, I would say the 37. It's I would say I'm glad I have this because the Hakuhodo J210, I put it in storage because it shed too much. I can't speak for how much this is going to shed. I did see some hairs come out, but this is a brand new brush, so that's to be expected. And yeah, I think this is the most useful of all of them. If you use any kind of cream product, whether it be foundation, bronzer, or blush, you'll be able to use this for that. And then the 36, just because this is a very unique brush, and if you conceal the eye area, I think this is a really good one. I just prefer like a specialty brush like this eye brush. But this is not supposed to be used for eyes. I just happen to use it for concealer on my eyes. It's not meant to be used for concealer. I just happen to use it for that. But this is probably a more appropriate concealer brush. So that would be the 36. So yeah, that's gonna do it. They also sent me some skincare that I haven't had a chance to use. I just got all of these last night or yesterday, and all these were sent as PR from Rephr. So thank you so much, Rephr, for sending these products to me. And at another date, I'll try out the skincare and report back to you guys. But I wanted to get this up, you know, sooner than later. So that's gonna do it for today. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you all next time. Bye.